Hi. Today I wanted to talk about load balancing from F5 big IP to Cilium pod in Kubernetes networking. So there is an article here. It's one F5 customer to do their load balancing to the Cilium pod. And this is in a Cilium, configured in Cilium routing mode. And so basically you need to set up the routing software in both in the node, the Kubernetes node, and on the big IP. They both need a routing software configuration. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can load balancing to the Cilium pod through the Cilium tunnel data plane directly without configuring any routing software. So so the Cilium is running in a tunnel mode, and this is a diagram, and so the CIS, which is a container ingress services from F5 open source project that will manage the ARP, the pod ARP, and the node FDB entry. So we will also use BPF tool to manage the Cilium, So when the Cilium pod send the traffic to big IP VXLAN tunnel, it will has the correct VXLAN network identifier and VTAP destination MAC address. So once so when both the VTAP MAC address and the VNI key matched from the egress packet of the pod, the tunnel traffic will work smoothly. Yeah, so I'm not going to dive too deep in the technical side. I'm going to just show you a quick demo in this short video. And so I have installation instruction here to show you the demo. So actually it's quite straightforward, only a few steps here. So for example, on the big IP, we create a VXLAN tunnel as usual, just like the Flino. We actually use the same Flino VXLAN name profile and to create the VXLAN on the big IP. So this is on the big IP side. Everything is straightforward, just like the you configure the Flino VXLAN. One thing you needed to pay attention is when you create the VXLAN tunnel with the VNI key, you can use any key other than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You cannot use this key because those IDs are reserved in the Cilium. So that's the only difference you needed to be aware. And also, when you created the VXLAN network subnet, make sure your self IP subnet is /16, and if you use a /24, there is some ARP issue. So use /16. I think that's you needed to pay attention. Then everything else is the same. And save the configuration. So that's all you can do on. That's all you needed to do. You needed to do on the big IP side. On Cilium side, I have some notes here, like how you can start your Kubernetes with Kubernetes. I mean, some things you pay attention with your Kubernetes cluster setup, but that's just like a usual. It's not nothing special here. And so the only thing when you start your Kubernetes cluster, since you wanted to deploy Cilium in the cluster, you can choose this to skip Kubernetes proxy, which is to replace the Kubernetes proxy in the Kubernetes cluster, meaning there's no Kubernetes proxy running in the Kubernetes. Yeah. So, and also, so once your cluster is up, then you can apply the Cilium big IP YAML file. So I have everything, every YAML file here in this in this my repository. Everything YAML file here that I used. This is under my GitHub Vincent Lee docs repo and Cilium big IP directory. And this is the installation file. And then all the YAML files here. And yeah. So you can just follow your these steps to deploy the Cilium in the Kubernetes cluster, and also apply the CIS, the F5 CIS in the cluster, and then everything will work. So I'm just follow these steps and do the demo. So to save the time, I already did this on the big IP. So this is my big IP. So I already have a Fnatic VXLAN configured. Notice I used the VNI key 68, and yeah. And also the self IP. This is the self IP on the Flannel VXLAN tunnel. Oh, no, yeah. So this is the VLAN. This is the underlying VLAN self IP on the big IP. Okay, so I will skip this. So I already created to save time. And on the Cilium side, so mostly we spend the time on the Cilium side. I already also started up my Kubernetes cluster, and now we can deploy the Cilium in the cluster, Kubernetes cluster. So here is my Kubernetes cluster. Let's apply the Cilium in the cluster. Okay, so we deployed the Cilium in the cluster, and I can show you the Cilium cluster, what it look like. As you can see, this is a Cilium image, a container image I built myself, because the Cilium needed to be changed to work with big IP, and so that's why I built my custom Cilium image. And to show you a quick change here is this is a Cilium BPF code change to work with the big IP VXLAN VNI based tunnel, and so that's the small code changes to work with the big IP tunnel. So now we deployed the Cilium already. Let's see. Okay, so the Cilium now is running in our cluster. Okay, so let's look at our installation instruction. After deploy the Cilium, and then we run this bash script to populate the Cilium tunnel map with the big IPs VNI, and a VTEP MAC, and a VXLAN tunnel subnet. Okay, so let's do that. So this is on the Kubernetes cluster control master node. Let's run this script. So let's rerun. So this is to ask you to input the big IP VXLAN subnet. So in this case, let me type in this subnet. So that's the subnet I configured on my big IP, the self IP here. Okay, so that's the subnet I wanted to for my big IP. Okay, so then input the big IP self IP VLAN self IP. Okay, the self IP. This is the big IP VLAN self IP for the tunnel. And so this is I ask you to input the nano VXLAN VNI key. So VNI key, this is the VNI key we used, 68. So 68. And this asks for the big IP nano VXLAN MAC address. So on the big IP, this is the nano VXLAN. That's the MAC address. Let's copy it here. Okay, so as you can see now, in the Cilium tunnel map, in each load Cilium tunnel map, we have this new record, meaning when you send the traffic, when Cilium pod send the traffic to this subnet, use this big IP self IP VLAN self IP as endpoint for the outer packet encapsulation, for VXLAN encapsulation for the outer destination IP. Same for another node. Okay. So we did this, and now let's deploy the. I already deployed this F5 Word deployment and the app and the services. So, and we can deploy and also deploy the RBAC for the CIS. And I already did this. So let's do this. I have not deployed this. Let's deploy the CIS pod in the Kubernetes cluster. Again, this is on the Kubernetes cluster. Okay. Let's see if it deployed. Let's show. So this is our CIS pod. It's running now. So now let's see. On the big IP, run password. So on the big IP right now, there's no virtual server, okay? No virtual server here because I have not deployed the config map. I only deployed the CIS pod to monitor ingress or config map. So right now I'm going to deploy the config map. So this is the config map I wanted to deploy. Okay. So the config map is deployed. And let's look at the big IP. Now we should have a virtual server deployed, and it shows green. So this is a virtual server deployed by the CIS. And we can look at the pools. The pools which is this is a pod, the pool member, and on the cluster, Kubernetes cluster, okay, so this is the F5 Hello World pod in the Kubernetes cluster. This is the IP address. And this is a pod IP address as pool member of big IP, right? So let's do the test to the virtual server. And just test the traffic. So we get a response. That's the F5 Hello World web page. Okay. So yeah, so this is just a quick demo to show you we can use big IP as a external load balancer to the Kubernetes cluster pod directly in Cilium tunnel mode. And again, this is a simple diagram, how this works together. And we can talk more about technical side maybe in future. And so, yes, thank you for watching.